Welcome to Conversation again. And tonight we have Tambi again. And please don't hesitate to send your question to us. And your question will be answered during our conversation. So please don't hesitate to send your question. Go ahead, Tambi.
Hello, Pastor Sarah. Thank you again for having me on the show. I look forward to this episode. And I really want us to continue on the story about the Canaanite woman. It's amazing how she came to Jesus, and it almost seemed like Jesus was ignoring her, but she kept on pursuing.
Yes.
And she wasn't offended. And she was humble enough to stay at the feet of Jesus until she got her healing.
Yes.
But one thing that stood out to me was Jesus's response. After the woman said, "Yes, it is, Lord." After the woman said, so let me read from verse 25. The woman came and knelt before him. "Lord, help me," she said. He replied, "It is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs." "Yes, it is, Lord," she replied. "Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table." Then Jesus said to her, "Woman, you have great faith. Your request has been granted." And her daughter was healed from that moment. So, I was trying to understand the requirements for the woman's healing. Because is it her response or was it her act of faith?
Well, it's Jesus went by how she respond, because the Jewish people, they used to call the Gentiles dogs because they didn't belong to Jesus. They didn't belong to God. They were the elite. They had this special covenant with God, so they felt like they were better than Gentiles. So the Gentiles, actually, the Jewish people referred to the Gentiles as dogs.
Mm.
And so that's what, it was a common thing that everybody knew.
Wow.
You see? But can you imagine if one person would call somebody else, "You're a dog"?
Right.
Not.
You get offended. Yeah.
Jesus called her a dog. And she just took it and kept her eyes on the prize, kept her eyes on the goal. She kept her eyes on the miracle. Didn't give up on her miracle.
And Jesus' response was, "Woman, you have great faith. Your request has been granted."
Yes.
And that's the thing about when I think about healing stories. It's more like it's almost like Jesus is not necessarily the one doing the healing, but he's just pointing it back to what is within us that has caused the healing.
Yes. God sees the motive.
Okay.
We look at the words. We look just at the words, but God sees the motives, why we say things.
That's good.
Why we have this miracle, why we want this miracle. It's this miracle because we want to be healed because we're going to watch TV all day long. We want to be healed because we want to be well and go do whatever we want to do. Or we want the miracle to praise God and be so appreciative of that God did the miracle, that after the miracle, we would be so grateful of what God has done. You see, God looks at the motive, why certain words. Did you notice that sometimes you talk to people and they'll say the right thing, but you could almost tell the motive at the right thing, what they say, but the motives, it's like either to deceive you, they compliment you.
Right.
Everything. I talk to people and they sound good, but you can put your finger on it.
Oh, right. So
their motives.
The motive is not in alignment with.
Yes, Their
Okay.
motives are not genuine. They don't match with the words they say.
Right, right. And so now in those cases, healing cannot be granted, obviously.
Well, when I see more wrong motives and they say the right thing, but the motive is different. Of
Right,
course, I hold back even if I want to give something to somebody.
right, right,
I say, okay, she's not gonna appreciate me. He's not gonna appreciate me if I do
right.
this favor for them.
Okay. And that separates why you would say why some people get healing and some people don't.
Yes,
Because a lot of times with healing miracles, I mean, let's say somebody comes to the front and they pray for this person and they get healed immediately. And maybe the
mhm.
other person, they pray for them and they don't have any healing. So now we're
Yes,
getting into the details and the complexities of the motives, people's motives. Those are things we cannot really see, but
yes.
God determines whose healing is granted or whose healing is not granted. So it's
You
pretty much, you
know,
would say, the motives then.
I never understood at that time why. Sometime in my church, we were 400 or 500 people, and when we had the Super Sunday, we were over 1,000 people, and out of 400 people, only 3, 4 people would be healed in the service,
Mm,
or 1,000 people, maybe 7, 8 people would be healed, and I want everybody healed. And
right,
I
right.
could not understand it, but you see, we look on the outside. We could be moved by what people are saying, by their crying, but God sees their motives, what they're going to do with this miracle. Because
Mm,
once you receive a miracle from God, listen to this, this is very profound. Once you receive a miracle from God, God knows you received the miracle, and the devil knows if you received the miracle. If after you receive the miracle and you're not grateful to God, the devil goes and accuses that person to God and says, see, you did all this for her. You did all this for him. They don't even appreciate you. They went back and they served me instead of you. Do you see what I mean?
right,
Because if
right.
people go back to the natural mind, they start serving their master again, the old master that they were serving before they were saved.
Hmm.
Because the carnal mind, that's what it does. It cooperates with the enemy. And the enemy goes and accuses us to the Father. See, the Father, it's like us. The parent, the natural parents, even though our children make mistakes, we tell them, but then we forget right away. We warn them, don't do this, but they do it anyway. And we don't like it, but we forget right away. That's where God is with us. But there is one that keeps record. There's the enemy that keeps record of what we do. Special when God does something for us that big. God has healed my eyes. God has healed headaches that I had for 18 years and pain on my legs that I had since I was 12 years old. But the day I got saved, I was healed of three major things that were bothering me. If I would have went back like I used to be depressed. I used to be envious of people that had a better marriage than me. I was never envious of anything, but I longed to have a marriage like other people, especially when I would see couples that they were loving each other, they were together, they were doing life together. Well, my husband was never home. He was so involved with the Mormon church that he was not home. And so I was envious when I would see a couple that they were so together. And as a matter of fact, that I knew of a couple that they were so nice together. They were so loving. And when I was rich, they were poor. And I looked at this couple and I said, you guys are very rich. And they said to me, wait a minute, you're rich, not us. I said, no, but you have something that I don't have. It's more special what you have than all the money I have, I told them. You see? And so I don't know if I answered your question.
You did, and some. Yes, you definitely did. Yes. The motives has to be pure for you to obtain your healing, and we have to protect our healing. If you think about it, because there are many times when we hear scriptures of, if you get your healing and you don't preserve it, the enemy comes back and sees the house clean and go bring more, more wicked or
Yes.
wicked spirits or more vicious. He comes back more, as they
Yes.
say, more
Yeah,
vicious.
those are the people that they receive their healing through the gifts of the person, through another person's faith. They don't do nothing for themselves. And so they go home and they start to do things like they used to do before, cooperate with the enemy. Cooperate with a carnal mind, cooperate watching things they're not supposed to watch, saying things they're not supposed to say. Of course, the enemy says, they're back in my territory.
Right.
You see, it's so clear to me. And why so many Christians, they think it's a mystery, those things, but it's not a mystery because we make the decision not to be grateful when we receive it from God. If we're grateful and we know that God don't want us to be carnal, don't want us to hurt other people, don't want us to hurt ourselves when we watch the wrong thing, when we say the wrong thing, when we cooperate with sin, we hurt ourselves. God is still God. He's going to always be God. But we need to have a change of mind and to be grateful. To me, once I saw that God healed me of 3 major things in my life, I became so dedicated. God, what can I do for God? He healed me. And when Pat Robertson said to read the Bible every day and find out how God thinks, I did it. I stopped watching the soap operas, and I put that time to read the Bible. Because I realized the Bible could help me. The soap operas were just entertaining me and make me feel good momentarily.
Right.
It's a choice. We have to make choices.
Choices, yeah. And the thing about healing, it's very interesting because, like you're saying, there are many ways of getting healed, right? The practical ways of just being diligent in the little things.
Yes.
And those little habits can actually eventually cause your healing. And there's I know you've mentioned the other way also is through somebody's faith.
Yes.
Somebody's faith can help you be healed. We see stories of the guy who was being dropped from the roof.
The 4 friends dropped him through the roof. So it was their faith, was not his faith that he got healed. Right. This is why I'm really after helping people to get healed. Even when I pray for them and I know they don't have the faith. Because I know that once they get healed, they're going to pay attention to God. And they're going to be turned around and say, oh, this is I didn't expect this to happen like this. Like I did not expect when I said the prayer in the sinner prayer with Pat Robertson, I did not expect the all this miracle to have 3 major things to be taken out of me. But it happened, and I have been grateful ever since. And I know, I pray for people that I know they're not believers. But after they receive it, they become believers.
That's good. And and would you say the third way of obtaining healing is just taking Jesus's word for face value, for what it is?
Yes.
And I see stories of the guy who had to bathe. The guy who had to bathe. I'm trying to remember the story. The guy at the water. What's that story?
At a Bethesda pool.
Oh, the guy at the pool of Bethesda. Right.
Yeah.
So,
The pool of Bethesda, or
Bethesda,
whatever.
yes. And Jesus just asked him, "Do you want to?" He told him to go bathe, in the pool, and his obedience caused this healing. I think there's another story of the guy. I don't know if it's the same story, but he was sitting by the wall.
Tembi, that miracle was just Jesus initiating, because he said, do you want, Jesus
What do you want?
asked him,
Right.
and he said, every time I try to get into the pool, somebody goes ahead of me and leaves me behind. And so he found, if it was excuse, if it was the truth, I don't know, but Jesus initiated the miracle, not the man. The man did not initiate.
And you're making a great point about initiating, because a lot of times Jesus asks you questions not because he doesn't know the answer, but he's almost like he's forcing you to think for yourself.
Yes. Yeah, that's good, Demby.
And when you think for yourself, you become honest about your condition or where you are with the situation.
Yes.
You think about the story of Adam and Eve after they ate the apple, and the Lord was like, "Where are you guys?" He asked them, "Where are you?" And
Where are you? He already knew.
You already knew. I think at that moment he was probably asking for their positioning in him, right? And the ability to answer honestly.
Yes, but they did not answer honestly, Tempe. They did not answer honestly, because the way they answered, she blamed the devil, the serpent, and Adam blamed her. He says, the woman that you gave me. Like, if you did not give me her, I wouldn't be in this.
Right. So it's almost like deflecting. I think every time we deflect in an answering, we're pretty much to hiding in the sin or in the condition or or not coming to the full realization of what we want.
Yes.
And I think Jesus asking that man, he asked the guy at the wall. What was the question, Pastor Sarah? He asked him, "Do you want to walk?" Is that what the question was?
Yes, something like that.
Do you want to walk?
Yeah. Do you want to walk?
Right. Because that's a very redundant question. And it's almost like now, maybe that question for that man was hidden in layers. He had many layers in him, because everybody will say, "Of course I want to walk."
Yeah.
How do you see me sitting there asking me if I want to walk? Yes, right. I want to walk, But I think for that person, that question or that answer had to be unraveled in many layers within him of what walking means.
I think Jesus needed his yes or no. It's like many times I wanted something from God and I didn't know how to put it in the words, and God said, "Ask me, ask me." And I thought, wait a minute, you already know what I need.
Exactly.
Why you tell me, ask me? And that's the same thing with the man. Wow. He want to know what his answer would be. Yes, I want to walk.
Right. So a key is just Yeah, because it sounds very simple, right? I mean, guy is sitting down, he wants to walk, he's like, "Do you want to walk?" "Yes, I want to walk." "Okay, walk."
Yeah.
You know, and I think I'm trying to, I don't want to make something very simple complex. So for me, it's like I go to the grocery store and I see a woman, she cannot see, and I say, "Do you want to see?" And I tell her, "See."
Yes,
And I think
yes.
that's the way it should be, simple.
Actually, that's the way we should approach people
Right,
because Jesus wants their cooperation. This
right.
way, he could mix the faith
That's
together.
good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay, so and just trying to understand the simplicity of the whole thing. Now we have the woman's daughter possessed with a demon, and the woman is coming to Jesus and say, "Hey, master, my daughter is sick." I thought in the simplicity of everything, Jesus would be like, "Okay, your daughter, go ahead, she's healed." But I think now Jesus was testing the motive. He's like,
Yes,
maybe he was like, this one, maybe it's a, so because I'm thinking, so now he sees the dimension. So now he's like, okay, this one, I gotta test her first,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
rather than
yeah,
just make it simple. Do you see
yes,
what I'm saying? Some people it's
yeah,
simple, some people he has to test. So I guess he has a way of figuring out who to
yeah,
test and who to make it simple. I don't
yeah.
know. What's your take on that, Pastor Sarah?
Well, I don't know if it's a test or what, but I think he was testing her faith to
Okay.
see if she was going to give up or she was going to keep on pursuing,
Mm, that's good. That's good. That's good. Okay.
or if she was going to just get offended and leave.
And leave. Right. Well,
Yeah,
Pastor Sarah, I appreciate you for answering the questions. Thank you. It was a great segment. I look forward to the next one.
yes, we will do next one soon. And
Yes.
thank you for listening to us, and thank you for joining us. And please, if you have if you have a question, don't hesitate to send, and we will answer your question during our conversation. And if you pay attention, we answer questions within our conversation. So God bless you, and we always want to hear from you. God bless you big. God bless you big. In
My
Jesus'
life
name.
is in you, Lord. My strength is in you, Lord. My hope is in